Welcome back to another episode of Coffee and Coin. I've got Tay Tay, our head of marketing at Factora, on the pod today. Welcome, Tay.
Hi, Allegra.
Do other people call you Tay Tay?
No. When I was little, for sure. Then at some point in elementary school, I went to Tay Ray, which is like my first and last name combined. People still call me that, or just Tay. I think you're the only one who says Tay Tay with as much excitement as you do.
I just love it. It's so fun to say. I'm a nickname person, so I don't feel like I can call people by their regular name because that's beneath me. I have a special
hmm
name for all of the special people in my life.
No, I love being called by nicknames, and I've also like my best friend. Her name is Catherine, and like as soon as I met her in college, I was like, "Have you ever gone by Cat? I think you're a cat," and like she's now Cat to everybody. And
Wow.
I have at various points been like, maybe I should just start introducing myself as Tay. Like, what do you think people would think about that?
I mean,
But
I say
I
go
haven't.
for it, but I think yours is more impressive that you got everyone to start calling her that. I'm very much like, here's my individual nickname for you. I don't want anyone else to use it. This is my
hmm
special
Well,
nickname.
you can hold on to Tay Tay. So
Okay, great. No one's buying for that name, so it's just mine. All right. Well, the reason that I'm having you on the pod is because, well, it's Factora, and we talk about our numbers all the time, including at work, off the pod, as a company. And I think that that's really unique. I don't think a lot of women talk about any financial elements of their life with their boss other than knowing that they know their salary from said
sure.
job, but they don't know anything outside that, right? Like they don't know what's in their investment accounts or if they invest actively. I know everything about your financial life. And today I'm going to learn even more. And
Yes.
I'm pausing to say that because I think it's proof that it is okay to talk about money and to talk about money with the people that they've said it's quite taboo to do so with, because we're an example of doing it. And I don't feel any worse off, but in this situation, I am the boss. So I just want to turn it over to you. How do you feel about me knowing so much about your financial life? I've never stopped to ask you.
I don't think I've really ever thought about it in a negative way. Like it's only been positive. I guess like for outside context, like we as a company do like bi-weekly, oh gosh, bi-monthly. What did we decide it is? Bi-monthly coffee like chats where we as a team meet for like 30 or 45 minutes like every other Wednesday morning and have our coffee and just like talk about what we're working on financially. And I think it's so fun. Like it's very creative. Like it's mine have been boring recently because I've just been stacking paper. I'm like, I put more money in the stock market. That's really all I've been doing. Next year, I think will get more exciting for me. But no, I love it. Like I think it is exactly what we teach at Factora is just like to break the taboo. We get creative with each other. We talk about it. We had a whole like coffee and coin session one time where we were just like talking about parents' financials and how to approach that. And I was like, guys, I have all these questions. Like, how have you approached this? And like, it's just so nice to be able to have that forum of conversation. And yeah, I've never looked on it as a bad thing. It's you knowing about my money. I think it's great.
Okay, good, because that question could have gone awry if you're like,
Shut it
actually,
down.
but we would have just cut it. No, I'm just kidding. So we are all about transparency here, and I think that's why we're starting to do these net worth diary episodes, which is really just highlighting women in our community who share their financial status before finding Factora and share what it is now after taking a well circle and implementing a lot of changes. And I think we should first take people back as to how you even found Factora and came to work for us. And then obviously we'll go through your whole financial journey, which you've made a lot of progress in a short amount of time, which I
Yeah,
love because it really means we get to practice what we preach here, and that it's more so based on how much you can save and invest than how much you can earn. Because obviously Factor is a
totally.
startup, so we're not paying you six figures, unfortunately, but
Not
hopefully
yet.
we're paying you in lots of knowledge and value in other ways.
Yes. 100%. We're not paying six figures yet. We work with the coach, and she told us when we say yet, it means we're in a growth mindset. So,
That's very true.
yeah. Yeah, so I found Factora in 2019, I had just gotten back from like I took 6 months off of work to travel with my partner. He was like officially between jobs, and he said, "I want to do this, and do you want to go with me?" And I said, "Sure do." So I took time off unpaid from my job, and we spent some time in Dallas with family, and then we spent most of the time in Southeast Asia, just bopping around. And when I came back from that trip, I had like $0 basically left in my name. Like I think I had like $3,000 on a credit card, which is not crazy, but didn't feel great. And like just enough in my bank account to make sure that I could pay like a down payment on our next apartment. So that
And
was
that was
pretty.
it. That was all you had. Like
That
3,000
was
to
it.
the positive, 3,000 to the negative. You were just kind
Yeah.
of at baseline. Okay.
Yeah, kind
Okay.
of at baseline. So and like that trip was amazing in so many ways, but a big part of it was like definitely towards the end. I was like, where I'm running out of money, and like that's not a great feeling. So when I got back from that trip, I thankfully like went back to my current job. So like I had an income again pretty quickly, which was obviously helpful. But I still just felt like I probably should be figuring some things out, doing a little bit more in terms of saving and investing than I had before. So I think I just started, Googling and searching around. And I'm in Austin, obviously. So Factora kind of popped up on my just social media world. And I started following you guys. And then I had been like planning to take the next Well Circle, but then you guys were hiring, and so I applied. Like I don't even remember what you guys are technically hiring for. It was like 5 to 10 hours a week of just like marketing support for Julia, and so I got that job, and part of the perk of getting that job was access to the Well Circle. So that's how I ended up taking my first Well Circle, and now I don't know, that was 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago.
That's crazy. Also, so yeah, we basically brought Tay Tay in as a marketing intern. Would I don't even remember if that was the title, but that was basically the idea. So it was support for Julia, who was a one woman show at the time, and we were a three-woman show with just me, Whitney, Whitney running product, and Julia running marketing, and we all didn't know what we were doing. And so you came in to support her for a small amount of time. We loved working with you, and then we brought you in as a marketing associate, and then you turned into a marketing manager, and then Julia left, and now you're our head of marketing.
Yep.
So, okay. Um, let's talk a little bit about what was that job that you came back to after traveling in Southeast Asia?
Yeah. So I just think it's always funny to point out, I've never once used my college degree in any terms of earning potential, but I studied nutrition in college and then thought I wanted to be a dietitian. Quickly realized in the final hour that I did not, in fact, want to do that. Um, and at the time, I was teaching Legree, which is kind of like Pilates, just a style of fitness in Austin.
But way
And
harder.
yeah, when I first came on, I told you I taught Pilates, and then you got mad when you found out it was Legree.
Well, because I love Pilates, and Legree is a torture chamber version of Pilates that really makes you look good, but it's so freaking hard.
Yeah, which is why I love it. But I had started teaching just like a few classes a week for during college, just like for fun. And I got to know the owner of the studios, and she at the time was like in her mid 30s and just like very entrepreneurial, had just quit. Like she had been a CPA and then a consultant, got burnt out on corporate life, moved to Austin, started these studios. I was very into that story. I have a lot of entrepreneurs in my family, so it's always been interesting to me. And I kind of went to her. I was like, "Look, I screwed up. I don't know what I want to do." And she was like, "Well, I actually really need to hire my first like full time employee." So I started working at the studio. Eventually, like became the GM of the studios. She moved to Nashville at one point, so I was kind of I was like the head of ops on the ground in Austin, and I did that for, including that like 6 month break, I did that for about 6 years.
Okay, but you're being very casual. You didn't, you started with her when she had one studio?
Yeah, I think the second one had just opened, but I
Okay,
helped open the third.
okay, and then so how many are there total now?
So now there's just three.
Okay, there's the three, and so you were
Yeah.
managing all three while she was living out of state.
Hmm.
And what did that entail? Just so people can kind of understand what it
Uh,
means to run operations and manage three physical studios.
everything. Like I was the handyman, which is a joke. I was like our tech support, also questionable. No, I did fine.
I was going to say,
I
you're actually really good at tech support because you do that at Factora sometimes too.
Yeah. I managed, I mean, her and I worked very closely together. Even though she was out of state, she still like had a pretty heavy hand in day-to-day um, ops, as long as they weren't obviously about the physical upkeep of the studios. A lot of that fell to me. I also had some support in that, but helped manage just the team. We're upwards of like 30 instructors now. I think at the height of my time there, we were around 25. So just managing the schedules of everyone teaching, making sure that they were happy. Helping with finances, the budget, running numbers there. I did all of our marketing, social media, events. Um, I'm probably forgetting
You,
something, but
you
just
are.
a jack of all trades.
Okay. So you went to college for nutrition. You
Mhm.
have yet to use that degree. You have a lot of family that are entrepreneurial and have their own businesses. So you were keen on this woman's Pilates business and her story. And so you got in there, became her GM. How much were you making um, at that job before you found Factora?
Yeah, so I think by the end of my time there, I was making 65K in salary, maybe 68. I couldn't, I think it may have been 68 actually by the very end. And then I got bonuses twice a year, usually around 5K each. So upwards of like 78K in total, um, plus free Legree classes anytime I wanted, which is
No,
not
it's not
nothing.
cheap.
Boutique fitness is expensive.
Okay, so then let's move on to finding Factora, taking your well circle, and let's talk about where you are financially today in terms of income, both from Factora and otherwise.
So I my salary at Factora now is 85K. And then my expected income for this year is between 157 and 163K. So
So I
obviously
can
that's
already hear listeners
almost
being like, wait a second, you are only making 85K after a few years, and how the hell are you doubling that in other income? Dun dun dun. Tell them.
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, so part of like working as GM for so long, I ended up gaining 10% equity in the studios. And the last couple of years, they've started to do, I mean, we've always done really well, but COVID was in there and small businesses are hard. But we've really started doing well the last couple of years financially. So I earn a decent amount. Like I get distributions monthly from that. So expected to be between 50 and 60K total this year. I think it was right around 50K for last year. And then I also teach still at the studios. So I teach usually around 6 classes a week. I get paid around $50 a class. Um, so plus I help train our new instructors and get paid to do that. So I usually end up making an extra $1,000 to $2,000 a month from teaching and training. So yeah, all of that combined gets me from 85 closer to 160.
Yeah, closer to double. It's amazing. So, I guess I just want to break this down in terms of asset classes because
Hmm.
we talk a lot about asset classes at Factora, and you are heavily invested in the business asset class. Not only do you have equity in that company, but you also have equity in this company. And didn't you have equity in another company? Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, oh, my fun little passion project. Yeah, during COVID, I helped a couple of friends open a food truck in Austin. It was a pizza truck called Doughboys, and I did all of like the marketing and social for them. And there was no money to pay anybody for anything, so they paid me in 5% equity in the company. And while that doesn't seem like it would be a lot, we actually were very successful very quickly. So I ended up for like a decent amount of time was still making like 500 a month, just from distributions from the food truck, which is, not nothing. Um, Unfortunately, the partners, like the main partners in that company, went split, ways. So Doughboys is no more. But that was a fun, short, little lived, yeah, additional business asset notch in my belt.
Yeah, and the reason I wanted you to bring that up and just to pause here in general is because when we get to this part of the wealth circle where we're talking about the business asset class, we talk a lot about angel investing and what it means to become accredited and get access to deal flow, and really how many businesses you want to be investing in to likely see a return,
Yeah.
which in the stock market, when we invest in a fund, an index fund, for example, there's usually hundreds of businesses inside of that,
Hmm.
which means we're getting exposure to a lot so that if some don't work out, we still have other ones that can. Well, you are only invested in three businesses, right?
Hmm.
So one already being out of business isn't surprising. What's
Right.
surprising is that you even made money from that business in such a short window. So
Yeah.
I guess I just wanted to say that because one of the best things about understanding money, asset classes, how to set up a smart financial system, as we'll get into Tays, is and why it matters is because then you can kind of see this holistically, right? And
Yeah.
so you are really just trading your skills for sweat equity in these businesses. And then two of them turned into, full-time jobs. And the other one,
Yeah.
you still made some income, passive income while it was open before the partners split ways. So I'd say you're doing pretty well for your business
Yeah.
asset
No, no, I
investment.
think it's been an excellent start. I have, and I think like that is, and that's a very like hard thing I think to teach is that like when you're starting out, if you are truly interested in investing in business, like you got to get a little scrappy and a little creative. Like I didn't have tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars to invest in these companies, but I did have time and energy and creativity and excitement. And so, you know, it worked out that way, but it's kind of just like looking for those opportunities as well. And I think another important note here is that like it takes a long time for these investments to show a return if they do at all. And I think and this is like a lesson I had to learn myself, like when I was working at the studios, like I knew I was learning a shit ton about how to operate a business, how to manage a team, all things that were very important to me. But I was still at the end of the day, like managing a fitness studio. And that just didn't, I was like, where is this going? What am I doing? And it took, 6 to 7 years for us to really start distributing and seeing a return on that. And now I'm obviously incredibly grateful for that additional income and all the hard work that I put in there. But it is much less of an instant gratification path than stock market investing and probably even real estate investing. So I think you just got to have a bit of a thicker skin, and a bit more patience and like time to put into that type of
No,
investment.
I actually think I'm really glad you brought that up because so we talk about the asset classes, we talk a lot about their characteristics, for instance, like how easy are they to get into and out of? That's the liquidity of each
Yeah.
asset class. And business asset class is the hardest to get into because stock market, I can just go put $10 into a Fidelity account or an E-Trade account and get that invested today in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Didn't cost me a lot. I can get the money returned to cash if I change my mind in very little time. So the characteristics of that asset class are so different than business, which typically you'll have
Totally.
a very long lockup period and potentially never see a dollar from it. So the fact that you
Yeah.
worked at those studios and 6 years later you're making, you said 60,000 in passive income, and then you also get to side hustle teaching this type of Pilates, this crazy painful Pilates that you love for another, around 14K a year. That's great. That gives you've
Yeah.
got two additional income streams just from that relationship. But you had to work really hard to get it. And I think that some people don't recognize that the business asset class, if you're not accredited,
Hmm.
which takes a certain level of annual income or overall net worth,
Yeah.
you need to find access to sweat equity in businesses because you can't technically invest capital in them. We
Yeah.
get into all that in the Wealth Circle. I want to stay focused on Tay's story,
Mhm.
but you've just been really creative in getting exposure to 3 businesses by trading your skills and time. All right, let's talk net worth. So we discussed having not so much savings
Yeah.
when you found the Well Circle, and then you took the Well Circle. Talk to me. So that you took your first Well Circle in spring 2020, is that correct?
Yes.
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 And you started
I started
working for us
working.
December 2019.
Yeah.
Okay, and now we're recording this at the end of August in 2023. So less than 3 years later. Um, where are you at today? What's your net worth? Dun dun dun. Reveal.
Yeah, I had to recalculate it this week for this episode. But I just crossed $301,000.
I love the one. Don't leave out the
Yeah.
one.
Look, gotta get specific, you know? It's just a
So
little bit over.
from 0 to 300,000 in less than 3 years is pretty amazing. Can you break that all down for us?
Yes. And I will like caveat this. I know everybody includes like business equity differently in their net worth. So I'll start with that. I do include 100K of equity in the studios in my net worth, only because we've actually had the business valued at one point by like a third party, valuation company or consultant or whoever it was at the time. And the value was around 1 million. So 10% of that, 100K. So if we were to sell it, that's hopefully like kind of what we would get for it. This was actually 3 years ago. So my hope obviously is that that has increased. We're definitely making more money now than we were 3 years ago. So I'm confident that's gone up. But yeah, so I do include 100K of that in my net worth.
Yeah,
I don't.
hold on. I'm really glad you said that and you broke that down. I think that just to double click on that, because a lot of people hear me share my net worth. I do not include Factora in my net worth because we have never had a third party valuation.
Right.
And because we are a digital business, it would be really hard to value us in the way that you could look at 3 studios and their equipment and how much debt is on the equipment and how much revenue and how many recurring customers and all those things. We don't have recurring business. We teach one course twice a
Yeah.
year and we're a digital business. So
Yeah.
while we are very clear on our revenue, um, it's just not something that I've tracked into my net worth. But I appreciate you
Totally.
sharing why you do. And I think 100K from a 3 years ago valuation when you're making a lot more is very conservative
Yeah.
and correct.
Yeah. Yeah. And for that same reason, I don't include any of my Factora equity in my net worth. So kind of goes both ways.
Yes.
So yes, net worth 100K for the studios. And then I have 30K equity currently in my primary residence. So we bought that house in 2021. I bought it with my partner. I guess on that note, this is all my individual net worth. I do have a partner of 6 years. We're not married. We have not combined finances. So these are all just my own numbers. Um, when we bought the house, we split it 60/40, 60 him, 40 me. So this is 40% of our total equity in the home is 30K. And then I have 115K in paper assets right now. My goal for 2023 was to get 100K by the end of the year. So I have already surpassed that. And it's just August. So hopefully, I'm confident that will be at least 125 by the end of the year. And then I have 56K in cash. And that's the most cash I've ever had on hand, I think. But
We're
I'll
doing
break
with
that
all that
down.
cash, Tay Tay.
I
We're
know. I know. Well, it probably will not be that high for very long, but I have 30K in my emergency fund, which I just finished refilling up. We had to replace all of our pipes in our house earlier this year, and that is not cheap. So anyone who's buying a house with non-PVC pipes, just beware. And then 5K of that is actually specifically earmarked for our an air conditioning fund because our air conditioner is 20 years old and it has been 106 degrees in Austin for 45 days. So the fact that it's still kicking is probably a miracle, but we're just kind of waiting for it to die. Um, and then I have 5K just for like house, like fun, like decoration updates, things like that. 6K in a vacation fund, and 13K in my like quote unquote opportunity fund, which is either kind of earmarked for I'm gonna need a new car at some point in the next 3 years, I think. Um, Also earmarked for potential real estate investment, or um, we'll get into it in a little bit, but some future business investment opportunities. So that's just kind of a little nest egg. I may end up moving some of that over to my brokerage, just because I truly don't think I'm going to need it probably for the next 3 years. So it's sitting there right now, but might get bumped over.
Okay, question.
Um,
So that was a nice
so
breakdown
yeah,
of
sorry,
your.
that was a long breakdown.
No, it was great. So of your 56K in cash, I loved the clarity around
Yeah.
how much you had in your emergency fund, that you were replenishing it from the pipes, that you even have a portion of that earmarked for the air conditioning, which I mean, way to think ahead. We've had 3 of our 4 houses have ACs break and did not have the money prepared for that. So good on you. And then the fun, like reno your house budget, the
Yeah.
vacation fund, and then the opportunity fund, which sounds like it's quite flexible. Like you know a few
Hmm.
things, but the timelines are a little nebulous. So if you decide those aren't things you're going to move on in the near future, you can repurpose them over to paper. I'm just repeating all that because I really want
Yeah.
listeners to know what it looks like to have such clarity on why you have cash, what you're doing with it.
Yeah.
Where do you keep your cash savings?
I keep it in Ally, in Ally's high yield savings account. And fun fact, while I was pulling numbers from this, I just looked up the interest I've earned year to date, and it was like $1,200. And I was like, that's pretty nice.
That's amazing. Do you use Allies buckets?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. These are all in their own little buckets. I love them.
it's the best. It's the best. Yeah. So we have a lot of Factora women who are big fans of Ally, but Factora is, we don't care what account you use. We care that it's the right account for you. And so there's so many women sharing all their different high yield savings accounts right now because we just started the Wealth Circle and it's part of the first session. And so
Yeah.
everyone's making sure that they are taking advantage of this high interest rate environment to get that APY back to them, that annual
Yeah.
percentage yield, returning them some money. And I think Allies is like
Totally.
5% right now. Close?
Yeah. Yeah. 5% as of last week, I think.
Okay.
Or very close if not. But yeah, and that's part of why I don't mind keeping that kind of like 13K in this right now, just because
Yeah,
that
this is
rate
a great
is,
time to hold cash because you're guaranteed 5%. I mean, it's not
yeah,
always going to stay that way, but when you are thinking about your money as much as we do, it's top of mind. So you're looking at
yeah,
those interest rates. You're not ignoring them by any
yeah,
means. Okay, let's quickly break down that 115K in paper assets. So I love that you over exceeded your goal to have 6 figures in the stock market within 2023. I'm sure you'll get to 130 by the end of the year. Truly, you were setting a small goal, Tay. You like big goals. So break down what accounts you have in the stock market and how much in them.
yes. Okay, so I have one, two, three, four, yeah, 5 different accounts I use to invest in the stock market. Um, 3 of which are in Fidelity, but I have a simple IRA, which is kind of a funky account. It's what I am able to contribute to as a continued employee of the Pilates studios. So when I was working there full time, I had access to this account, which is when I funded most of what's in there. But because I still teach there, like we basically, if you work a certain number of hours a month, you're considered an employee instead of a contractor. I hit that minimum, so I am able to still contribute my funds to this account, which is great. Then I have just a regular old Roth IRA, that was hard to say, that I have only recently, I think this is only like the 4th year I'll be really contributing to that. And then I have a brokerage account and I have a 401k through Factura, which always props you for a small little baby company. We have a 401k and a match and we love it. And then I also invest in REITs through Fundrise. So you're going to ask me what that stands for. And real estate investment, what does it stand for?
Real
Something.
estate investment trusts.
Yeah. Okay.
It's
So yeah.
exposure to real estate, but through the paper asset class. So it is
Yeah.
technically paper because you're not holding the hard asset by owning the property. I mean, you do have
Yeah.
exposure to real estate with your property, but this
Right.
is the way to be real estate investing without having to go find the property, manage the property, renovate the property, rent the property, all that
Yeah.
stuff that's
Exactly.
not fun
Yeah.
that I offload to my husband.
Yes. So yeah, 57K in my main in the simple IRA, 15K in my Roth, 21K in my 401K, 18K in my brokerage, and just 3K in Fundrise in the REITs.
I love it. Okay. Well, thank you for this very detailed breakdown. I would expect nothing less of a Factora woman.
Had to come with all the numbers.
I know, it's so good. Okay, so let's just talk a little bit about the changes that you learned in the Well Circle that you've applied that have helped you increase your net worth. Because this is a significant net worth increase for not a big salary increase, right? If you were making around 75 pre-Factora and you're making 85 with Factora, let's talk through the, financial lessons that you've applied to your life to be able to do this.
Totally. And I'll start with one kind of around the accounts that we were just talking about. I think before Factora, I very much was like, I think my mindset was more you either invest in a retirement account or you save money in cash. Like, I don't really think I thought there was a in between level there. I don't think I really was familiar with brokerage accounts or what kind of the purpose of them would be. So obviously now I know that like retirement accounts very much earmarked right for 59 and a half or later. But brokerage accounts are great for growing your money kind of in that middle term length of time. So at Factora, we always say like anything 3 to 7+ years away that you want to have access to before true retirement age, you invest or save for in a brokerage account. And that's definitely not something I was even thinking about before. But
This
as
is
many
my
women
this is my favorite learning for you to start with. I think that this is
Oh, good.
I think that this is most people. I was the same way, right? Like you get a
Yeah.
job, they give you access to an employer sponsored retirement account, and then you're kind of like, cool, I'm doing it. I'm doing the right thing because I'm contributing to that
Yeah.
account. But there is so much life between now and 6 years old. And there's no guarantee that you're going to stop working at 6 years old if you haven't been
Yeah.
really thoughtful about what you want to accomplish by then, how much net worth you want to have. And in order to do that, you have to think backwards of like, well, how much should I be investing now? Because if I take into account compound interest and where I could be and doubling periods and rule of 72 and all those things we like break down in the Well Circle, you start to see, I don't just want money for like way down the road. I want money for traveling the road. Hence
Yeah.
brokerage accounts and being more like bucketed. And
Yeah.
you just talked about, all of yours and it's awesome.
Yeah, 1,000%. And that's a big part of it. And building on that lesson, like I very much do not intend to work full time in a traditional sense until I'm 60 or older. Like I would like to stop doing that in my 40s. So although not, I don't really feel like anything about my work life has been particularly traditional, but
It hasn't. And I love that so much. I really do hope that there are people listening to this that are like, oh, good. I don't have to feel bad about not applying the degree. I mean, I think most people are kind of there, at least in
yeah,
America. Like, we just have to pick a degree and then who knows if
yeah,
we're going to use it. But then that next step that I always commend you on, that you took a very atypical path, like to go to a like college that is well known, get a certain degree that is like very clear. You get this degree and then you work in that
yeah,
job. It's kind of like, you go to law school to be a lawyer. Like you get a
right,
nutritionist degree to become a nutritionist of some
yeah,
sort. And you just never did that. And you were like, fuck it. I'm going to start working for this Pilates company because I like her story and it's interesting. And now you own 10% of those 3 studios. And then you're like,
yeah.
I'm not being great with money. So let me figure out how to do that. Oh, I'll go work for that company. And now you own a portion of this company. And then, pizza and That's just fun.
Yeah,
I used to
it's
always
fun.
say that Tay, what was it that I would say?
Pilates, pizza, and personal finance.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm like, you've got the trifecta. What else
Yeah.
could a girl really need?
But yeah, so I like having the idea of like now really filling the brokerage account so that that money can grow and it will be accessible to me in my 40s and 50s is very top of mind. So that's definitely one of the big changes I've made. Um, Other than that, I've just been really focused, I think, like I said earlier about our coffee meetings, like I've been really focused on paper. Um, the last couple of years just because I felt like I was quote unquote behind, which that's silly. Like there's no behind. Everyone starts at their own place, but I'm just trying to be kind of really prioritizing that. We always kind of talk about 100K being this like magic number when you really start to see your stock market investments compound on each other. So getting there was a big goal for me. So anytime I've gotten a raise, anytime I've gotten a bonus, like I've really made sure I put all, if not most of that into my investments and savings. So really just trying to keep like lifestyle creep in check, which is great because I live a very comfortable lifestyle. Like I'm not wanting for anything at the moment. I travel a lot, which I love. I spend a lot on health and fitness and I feel good about that. But I'm still able to put a lot into my investments, which I also feel really good about. Um, so I think, yeah, just sloughing off money, putting in investment you can. The other big thing that I do here is that, like I said, every dollar I earn from teaching goes straight to my IRA. I literally never even see it. Automation is a beautiful thing. Like I don't miss it because it's never there. And it's never been there. So that's helpful as well.
I wish
Um,
I could help people. And that I really don't think that there is an analogy for this. I think the only way to experience this is from doing it. But that, like that Parkinson's law of like you shrink or expand
mm,
to whatever the size of the fishbowl is, right? Like that's why
yeah,
the fish will stay small or it will grow. And we do the same thing with our accounts. But it's not just your spending account, right? That you're going to spend
yeah,
all of what's in there if you don't get it out, but it's how good you feel when you have it into your investment accounts and you see those swelling. So the fact that you
yeah,
never see a dollar physically in your hand from your teaching side hustle, but you watch your simple IRA grow month over month, it keeps you doing that. Like it's the
yeah,
motivation to keep going. It's just, I love it when women make that flip, which
yeah,
we talk so much about paying yourself first and setting up these systems so that, you know, the way Tay just spouted out, I got 56 grand in cash and these are all the buckets. I got 115 in stock market and these are all the buckets. Like, here's my equity here. Like, I want every woman to be able to talk with conviction about her money and her future that way.
yeah. Me too.
You know,
Um,
we didn't talk about your values because I feel like your
yeah,
values are coming out in all of this. So I I just want to have you share those.
sure. Yeah, I have five main personal values. They're community, wealth, health, flexibility, and exploration. Community very much is like for me, like family and friends oriented. Like I always says, it's like I light up when I talk about my family. I'm in my family's house right now, recording this episode in Dallas. But yeah, a lot of what I do is driven by family, building wealth, staying healthy. I'm going through some family health scares right now, and that's just doubled down on my own values of health and making sure that, I live a long, healthy life, and so do those people that I love. Flexibility, just, yeah, like being able to live a flexible lifestyle, not feeling like I'm stuck in one place for any certain amount of time, being able to take advantage of different opportunities that come up, kind of going back to that opportunity fund, things like that. And then exploration, very much about like travel, but also just like personal exploration, like trying new hobbies, like having new experiences within, Austin, where I live, cooking new foods, trying new things like that. So,
So I love that you stopped to share all these because you really do live your values. The thing I want to point out is one of your best friends, who I actually just interviewed on the podcast, one of her top values was wealth too. And I think
Mhm.
that when people put wealth as a top value, it keeps them really focused on that as a driver for their life. And I think some people would be afraid to put that as a value because we talk about this a lot, but wealth can sound like greedy or bad. But to me, wealth is abundance, right? Because
Yeah.
the more wealth you have, the more options and ability you have to spend more time with your community, to have better health, to have more flexibility, to do more
Mhm.
exploration. And you do live all those. Like I know you've worked from Peru for a month and you're going. Should we talk about what you're doing soon?
Sure.
I'll let you
I
tee that
have
one up.
okay. I have a 1 month sabbatical coming up. I'm very excited for. I will miss you and Factora dearly, but I'm going to be traveling to Ireland, Bulgaria, Romania, and Turkey, and then London for a wedding for a few days. So lots of travel and community is part of that too. I'm going to be traveling with like my best friend from Kat, the one I mentioned at the very beginning of the episode.
I hope she
Um,
listens to this.
Me too. And hopefully she agrees that I also named her that. Maybe I'm making that up in my head. But yeah, so we'll be traveling, and then in November we're going to be spending a week in Mexico City for another friend's wedding. So lots of travel and exploration coming up, and I'm
Well,
very excited for it.
and I'm very excited for your 1 month sabbatical. That's something we've never offered someone before, but it felt like you were very deserving of it. And it's going to be really cool. And it's also your first opportunity to have your marketing support person kind of run the
Hmm.
show while you step out because we are a very, very small team.
Yeah,
Okay,
it is.
next question. What financial goals are you working on currently?
Okay, so my biggest one, which is not too fleshed out yet. But I obviously I have the passive income bug. So I'm very keen to expand my business investments over the next 5 years. And my softball goal there is to increase my passive income to 150K in the next 5 years. I think I can definitely get above that. But that's where we're starting.
I love it. So
So
this just, am I correct? You're at about 65K of that to date, and you want to
mhm.
almost triple it to 150K in 5 years. Let's go. That's not a soft goal. That's a hard goal.
Yeah, so kind of in the talks of that, but we're it'll be in the realm of what I know and what I've done well in the past. So kind of expanding Legree studio opportunities, but don't have too much to say on that yet. That's for a future pod, hopefully. But yeah, starting to just kind of explore that idea and opportunity. And then what else am I working on? I think we'll be in our house for like the next 3 years, and then we're starting to think about starting a family around that time. The house we live in is not tiny, but would be more comfortable if we had one a little bit bigger. Also, we live on a very busy street that I do not feel is conducive to tiny humans running around. So, um, next, yeah, so starting to save for our down payment for that next house. I've also been talking to my family about going in on some sort of mountain house at some point. So we're still exploring areas of the country. But we are hoping to buy kind of a multi-family home that we can all escape to in the heat of Texas summers. And then I think the other big purchase, I'm gonna need a new car. Like I've had my car for 8 years, and I think it's starting to go downhill. And I really enjoy not having a car payment, but I think that's coming to an end somewhat soon. So starting to save for the next
It's
vehicle
so
as
cute
well.
too. It's a Mini Cooper and it's like perfect for you and red and adorable. But obviously, if you want to start a family, maybe something a
Yes,
little bigger to
exactly.
put a car seat
Yeah.
out of.
Yeah. So that's kind of what we're focused on. And then yeah, continuing to stack paper. I haven't actually contributed to my Roth IRA yet this year. So I plan to max that out by the end of the year. And then contribute a bit more to the 401k and brokerage accounts. So
Awesome. Awesome. This is the other thing. It's like, I don't know if you ever feel this way, but I do at least. Once you kind of have all your systems set up, it's a little bit like, wah, wah. I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing because
yeah,
it's working well.
it's
Like
doing well.
I'm gonna max out X, Y, and Z. I'm going to fill this for this goal. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, my biggest move with paper this year was just moving. I finally moved off of all the robo advisors I was using and now have managed it all myself. So that felt like kind of exciting. But other than that, it's been very par for like just keep plugging away.
Wait, I want to dig into that real quick. What robo advisors were you using, and why did you move to doing it yourself management, and what financial institutions are you using now?
Yeah. So I had a IRA in Wealthfront for a while. That was like the very first account I ever opened when I was like, I don't know what I should be doing, but I've heard of IRAs and I know I can contribute to that. So I'm going to open one and like throw $50 a month in it and we'll just figure that out later.
This is
And
pre
then,
Factora.
yeah.
Yeah. This was
And I
like
just,
the investing you did before Factora. Okay, love it.
yeah.
At least
And
you did it.
then it kind of just sat there for a while. So I was like, okay, we'll scoop that over. And then I had my brokerage with Titan before, which I know we've talked about a lot of Factora women who are very hot on Titan for a while, and it was fine, honestly. Like I, was in the green at the end of the day, like, but since going through the wall circle and all this, like I've just learned that I can manage these investments myself. I'm like confident and capable to pick the right, funds for myself. And it's kind of fun to check in on them and like change the structure every once in a while. So I just felt like it was probably time. So because I already had one account with Fidelity, I just opened a brokerage and Roth IRA also in Fidelity. So now I have all three of those accounts just in one place, which is, try to keep it as simple as I can.
I love it. And the reason I wanted to ask you specifics on that is because I think sometimes we get on these pods and we talk high level, and I know that you know all these specifics. So I think it's worth the audience just hearing. We always say nothing that you do in your financial life can't be undone, right? So a lot of women go into the well circle and they're like, oh yeah, let me get a robo advisor account. Let me try this brokerage. And that's great. Try them. Experience. There is just no alternative for
Yeah.
experiencing. But then we also typically see this phase where women are like, all right, I'm going to consolidate. I'm going to use what simplifies my financial life, what streamlines it. And so that's just something I've seen kind of become a commonality, like all the
Yeah.
testing phase and then the like simplify to thrive phase, which you're clearly at. Okay. I mean, I feel like we talked about a lot. Do you have a lifetime net worth goal?
I was like, and honestly, not really. I should. I need to.
You don't have to. I mean,
Yeah.
my number is 30 million, but it is also kind of just plucked
Yeah.
from the sky.
Yeah. I think I wrote down 10 million as like a personal net worth goal. I think we could. I think that's very reasonable. I think we could go higher.
I think
But
that's very
should-
reasonable.
I should put some actual thought into that at some point.
I love it. Well, do you have any favorite advice for women just starting on their financial journey? I mean, you are at the front lines because you run our social media channels. And so people are in the DMs asking you questions and sharing problems. It's like a very
Yeah.
interesting spot to be in because you see
Yeah.
firsthand what women are struggling with. With that in mind, I feel like your advice is really relevant. So,
Yeah.
any thoughts there?
Yeah. Just like don't just start. Like you literally can have so little excess money to contribute to investing and still get started. And I think that is I think that's something that a lot of people don't believe is true. Once you start doing it, you start seeing it actually work. Like it really is that snowball effect where then you start to trust it more, you get more excited about it, you see the benefit of it, and it just goes from there. But yeah, so many women are like, I don't feel like I make enough. I don't feel like I know enough. I don't feel like I have enough XYZ. Um, you do like 80% of, like I won't say that's obviously not 100% true for anyone. Like, but even if you have $25 extra a month, like just start carving out something. Once you do, you'll start to see other areas in your life where you can carve out more or where you can get more creative or you find ways to bring more money to yourself, and grow it from there. And I think that's my biggest advice. Also that it can like, yeah, it can start to feel really like stressful and annoying, but like once you start talking about it with people, it's like actually quite fun and exciting. And it's like it's very like creative to me, which is not something I really ever I don't think I really thought like managing my money would feel like a creative pursuit. But it really does now. And I think that's um important to know for people who are more creatively inclined. Like it's not this like terrible stuck in a box structure thing. Like you can do it to make it work for you. But you just got to get started.
I love that. I agree that wealth building is an extremely creative and empowering pursuit. Obviously, it's why I'm dedicating my life to it. But I love that you feel the same way. And I'll have you know, your bestie had very similar advice, which was just
Aw,
get started. And I
yeah.
think that on the flip side of telling people they can start with so little, I would imagine people think, well, starting with so little, how's that going to be significant? And that is where the experience comes to play. Because when you do
Yeah.
it, you feel good about doing it. You want to do more of it. It really is a snowball effect, not just for your confidence, but for your money. So
Hmm.
I think we'll leave it at that. Tay Tay,
Perfect.
thanks for
Well,
coming on.
thanks for having me back.
If you enjoyed this episode, come join us in a Wealth Circle. It's our live, online, 12-week course and community where we teach you how to create a personalized financial plan alongside hundreds of other women building wealth. It will change your life and your money for good. You can apply at factorawealth.com/wealth circle. That's factorawealth.com/wealth circle. See you in the next episode.